Hi, my name is Jared, and this is Horror Obsession. Today, I want to talk about Nope, the new movie by Jordan Peele. I am a little late to the game with this one, but I've been wanting to talk about a couple key elements of this movie for a while and figure, why not now? Alright, so first, I liked the movie. I didn't love it, and I think both Get Out and Us are superior films. Get Out is immaculately paced and constructed, with a myriad of setups that get paid off beautifully. I did a full video on that movie, so check it out if you're curious about my full thoughts. Us was not nearly as well crafted, but it is much scarier, and I think arguably Jordan Peele's only actually scary movie. Us suffered from a massive lack of realism, which absolutely drove people crazy. Spending even a few seconds thinking about the logistics of these doppelgangers living in underground tunnels for years is plenty to see how absurd the premise is. And I think Us would have been better served leaning into the surrealistic aspect of the movie. Us wants to function as a metaphor for nature versus nurture, since the girls switch places and the environment they grow up in determined whether they became a normal mom or a raspy psycho killer, not their genetics. I liked Us primarily because I didn't get too caught up in expecting hyper-realism, probably from my long years of watching stupid slashers, where people come back to life by being struck by lightning. Which brings me along nicely to Nope. I don't want to talk about this movie without spoilers, so I'll just say if you're thinking about watching it, it's worth checking out. Alright, so, I don't know if there's anything about this movie I loved. Let's start with the characters. It doesn't have the likable family of Us, or a charismatic protagonist like Get Out. I know Daniel is the lead in both, so this is kind of a funny thing to say, but his character in Get Out is down to earth, relatable, and a joy to watch on screen. The character they go for in Nope is a reserved, quiet, stoic countryman, but he comes off as extremely unrelatable and robotic. The type of character Jordan was going for is probably closer to Josh Brolin in No Country for Old Men, but either the directing or the acting didn't quite capture it, and the movie really suffers for it.
My name is OJ.
Keke Palmer is pretty good as the sister, and is much more interesting, but she too is infected with enough quirky mannerisms that's really hard to identify with her. I do think if Jordan had asked Daniel to harness a similar manic energy as Keke, the film would have been a lot more fun. But they were worried because Brandon Perea, playing Angel, was also very upbeat, and I think he was worried the characters would come off as too similar. This brings me along to the overall criticism of the characters in Nope. They feel like exaggerated caricatures, and it rarely feels like they are realistically reacting to what's happening on screen. Stephen Yeun is alright, but his character should never have been included in the first place, which brings me along to my second point. Nope is about 25 minutes too long. Now, don't take this to mean I can't stand a 2-hour movie. I love long movies as much as the next guy, and had no problem sitting through Django Unchained, The Godfather, or basically any Marvel movie. But Nope fails at something those movies succeed in. There is minimal wasted screen time. Steven's character doesn't really contribute to the plot, and yes, I did watch the movie, and I understand he was feeding horses to the giant alien thing, and that his interaction with the alien is supposed to parallel the monkey from earlier to show that his obsession with stardom and fame ultimately ruins himself and everyone around him. Steven's plot does have a theme, but it feels like a totally separate story that got added to this one. Like Jordan wrote a Twilight Zone episode about the monkey gone crazy, but couldn't get a full movie made from it, so he just shoved it into Nope instead. The whole movie I was waiting for the tie-in, but basically all that happens is Daniel goes to get his horse back, and the alien ends up back at the farmhouse, a sequence of events which could have transpired any number of ways. Let's talk more about the horse scene for a moment. Steven is buying horses to release and feed to the alien, but there is no way he is releasing a horse every day. That would be absurdly expensive. And speaking of expensive, based on the crowd watching the event, he had better be charging like $250 a ticket, because otherwise he is losing money hand over fist. Besides the monetary aspect of the scene, the rest also makes zero sense. It is a common trope in alien abduction movies to have a scene where a bunch of people get sucked up all at once, leaving behind their belongings, but mostly leaving behind a mystery for the characters to solve. Jordan takes this trope and applies it to this scene, except the twist of the alien spacecraft being one life form renders the scene confusing and nonsensical. It is not coming down to eat a horse every day. It just can't be. I mean, the movie implies the thing has been there for months. Which means if it was eating one every day, it would have needed to eat like 100 horses. So it probably isn't eating every day, yet somehow it comes down and eats like 30 people all at once. If the alien can eat up to 30 people a day, what is it eating the rest of the days? And if it can't, why does it eat so many people this one time? I feel like Jordan didn't really think this one through, because it is a scene that works with alien abduction in general, but not with the special twist he added, which is that it is not a spaceship, but actually an organic life form. So Steven gets eaten along with his kids, and the only purpose of his character in the overall narrative is to lure the alien back to Daniel's farm, where it already lives most of the time. Steven needed to have survived the encounter, and having lost his wife and kids, realize that he has made a grave mistake, going through something called a character arc. Having realized his greed and desire for fame has destroyed everyone he has ever loved, he decides to join Daniel for one final confrontation with the alien, but ends up having to sacrifice himself to save Kiki or Daniel and allow them to save the day. This way, his character goes through some growth based on the tribulations he experiences, and also directly affects the outcome of the plot. What ended up happening felt extremely shallow and meaningless, and made me wonder why they didn't just cut his character from the whole thing. You can keep the part where he runs a carnival in town for the camera capturing the alien at the end, but just cut the whole monkey backstory and horse sacrificing part, and I think the movie's pacing would have been massively improved. The carnival abduction scene demonstrates two of the three key flaws in the film. The pacing is off because there is a lot of extraneous material added in, and the movie's realism doesn't hold up under scrutiny. The realism part didn't bug me that much, but the movie is trying to come off as a realistic depiction of what people would go through during an alien abduction, going so far as to create rules about the alien knocking out technology nearby and having a camera guy rig a fully electronic-less camera. If you were going to go into this much exhaustive detail about the rules of the alien, at least be consistent with how much it eats every day, especially if this is going to end up being an element in the plot. These two flaws, in combination with the unrelatable characters, created a sense of disconnect with me. It felt like watching a movie rather than experiencing the events of the movie with the characters. I can't help but wonder if Jordan's a victim of his own success a bit here, since he surely has complete creative control of his movies now, having someone there to tell you, hey man, these characters are coming off as unlikable. Or, hey Jordan, I'm not sure this scene really needs to be in the movie. It doesn't influence the outcome or the main character's journey in any way. Can be really important for streamlining the narrative and keeping the audience engaged. There is more I could say about this movie, but unlike Nope, I'm going to try and keep this brief. How did you feel about the movie? A disappointing and waddling alien abduction movie, or another instant classic? I wonder if people's enjoyment of this movie is inversely correlated with their expectation of this being scary, which would certainly explain why I didn't really like it. After all, I have a pretty intense horror obsession.